All right. Holy technical difficulty. My God. I don't even know what was just going on. I don't even know what was just going on. But you know what? It's fixed. Um, but you know what? While we're at it, hold on one second. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. Sorry, y'all. Thanks for waiting. The minute I sat down, I was like, it's way too hot in this room for what I'm wearing. So, had to quick fix that situation. Although now I'm cold. What's going on? I don't know. It's like Katy Perry once said, you're hot and you're cold. You're yes and you're no. You're in and you're out. You're up and you're down. You're wrong when it's right. It's black and it's white. We fight. We break up. We kiss. We make up. I mean, come on. Life is so complicated. But now we have a sweatshirt on, so things should be okay now. Um, all right. Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. It is a Thursday here at Juan Iguana Studios, and today we are continuing Pride and Prejudice. And I know we're making progress in the way that I think we're like a few streams away from the end, which is exciting because I've already picked out what the next book is going to be. But let's not talk about that until we've gotten there. But yeah, we're on 354 right now. Oh, actually, we have quite a bit to go. We have at least 50 pages. But that's like 4 streams, actually. So, not bad. Um, like 3.5. I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna break that up. Um, anyway, hi. How are you tonight? It is Thursday. Every Thursday I practice chess at chess club. So that has been kind of the highlight of the day, for me personally. Um, but let me know, what has been the highlight of your day so far? I have with me Pride and Prejudice, and I also have a cup of dandelion tea, or as we say in Fancyville, dandelion, you know? So, time for chapter 6. I am going to try to get through a hefty chunk of this tonight. We'll see how much steam I have. But yeah, strap in, folks. Um, Here we go. One, two. Okay, this first part is only 4 pages, so 4 very long pages, but 4 pages nonetheless. All right, chapter 6. The whole party, the whole party were in hopes of a letter from Mr. Bennet the next morning, but the post came in without bringing a single line from him. His family knew him to be, on all common occasions, a most negligent and uh, dilatory correspondent. But at such a time they had hoped for exertion. They were forced to conclude that he had no pleasing intelligence to send, but even of that they would have been glad to be certain. Kalina, hi. Where are you? Um, I think you're at work. Where are you? I don't know. You've told me yesterday, and I've already forgotten. But hi. Um, They were forced to conclude that he had no pleasing intelligence to send, but even of that they would have been glad to be certain. Mr. Gardiner had waited only for the letters before he set off. When he was gone, they were certain at least of receiving constant information of what was going on, and their uncle promised at parting to prevail on Mr. Bennet to return to Longbourn as soon as he could, to the great consolation of his sister, who considered it as the only security for her husband's not being killed in a duel. Mrs. Gardiner and the children were to remain in Hertfordshire a few days longer, as the former thought her presence might be serviceable to her nieces. What's up, Alice? Thanks for lurking. I appreciate you. Um, she shared in their attendance on Mrs. Bennet, and was a great comfort to them in their hours of freedom. Their other aunt also visited them frequently. Um, and always, as she said, with the design of cheering and heartening them up, though as she never came without reporting some fresh instance of Wickham's extravagance or irregularity, she seldom went away without leaving them more dispirited than she found them. All Meryton seemed striving to blacken the man who, but 3 months before, had been almost an angel of light. He was declared to be in debt to every tradesman in the place, and his irregularities, all honored with the title of seduction, had been extended into every tradesman's family. Everybody declared that he was the wickedest young man in the world, and everyone began to find out that they had always disrupted the appearance of his goodness. Elizabeth, though she did not credit above half of what was said, believed enough to make her former assurance of her sister's ruin still more certain, and even Jane, who believed still less of it, became almost hopeless, more especially at the time was now come, even if they had gone to Scotland, which she had never entirely despaired of, they must in all probability have gained some news of them. Mr. Gardiner left Longbourn on Sunday. Hold on. I want this. Hold my page down. Okay. On Tuesday, his wife received a letter from him. It told them that on his arrival, he had immediately found out his brother and persuaded him to come to Grace Church Street. that Mr. Bennet had been to Epsom and Clapham before his arrival, but without gaining any satisfactory information. Yo! Okay, Alan, what's up? What's up, Alan, with the 6-month streak? Let's go, my local brethren. How are you? What's up? Thanks for the subscribe, man. I think this is the most subscribers I've ever had, so thank you. Um, yeah, Yami came in here one morning and like gifted a whole bunch of subs, which was super nice and lovely. And now there's you. So thank you so much. Glad you're hanging in there. Um, Life is pretty decent. Yeah, some weird little complications with my job, and besides that, I'm just writing. So, nothing crazy or unusual, but life be life in life's so hard sometimes, you know? Lily's trying to leave. Bye. Okay, I was afraid that she was gonna hit some wire and take out my mic or something, but she just left the room. Um, what was the highlight of your day, Alan? Mine was playing chess. It was fun. Um, that Mr. Bennet had been to Epsom and Clapham before his arrival, but without gaining any satisfactory information, that he was now determined to inquire at all the principal hotels in town, as Mr. Bennet thought it possible they might have gone to one of them on their first coming to London before they procured lodgings. Mr. Gardiner himself did not expect any success from this measure, but as his brother was eager in it, he meant to assist him in pursuing it. He added that Mr. Bennet seemed wholly disinclined at present to leave Longbourn, and promised to write again very soon. There was also a postscript in this effect. Never could get the hang of chess. Yummy! Yummy, I was just talking about you. I will hydrate. Thank you. Never could get the hang of chess. On the flip side, I rarely ever lost at checkers. Hell yeah, you didn't. I love that for you, Alice. Hey, checkers, there's definitely some strategy there. So, kudos. Um, Chess, I hated it for the longest time. I really did. And then at my job, I have to play chess sometimes. I work with kids and there's like a chess club situation, so I do have to play a lot of chess and teach a lot of chess. Um, and like a coworker of mine one time was like, "Hey, I watched you play a whole game." Oh, but the embarrassing thing would be that I would like teach a kid how to play chess, and then they would literally beat me in the next game. Like I know how to play, I just got no skills. I feel like I just heard something in my house. Um, um, and yeah, but then a coworker of mine offered to like give me some chess lessons and some pointers, and so I've gotten a lot better since we've been having like weekly chess lessons literally, so I'm learning a lot and it's becoming not so horrible anymore now that I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit, but it's been fun. It's been very fun. Not so much a highlight, but a painfully slow. Wait. But so growing sense of ease at my new job. Okay, that's awesome. Yay, I'm happy to hear that. I know this job was like a total like switch for you if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm glad to hear that you're like slowly easing into it. So yeah, I'm really glad to hear that for you. That's very nice. Yami, what's up? How was your day? I feel like I never see you at the nighttime streams. I feel like you usually come in for my like morning daytime streams, so I'm happy you're here. Um, I still don't feel I'll last long in this job, but the week felt what this week felt wasn't horrible. Damn, that's still not good though. Like that's still rough. Not horrible is not really where we want to be. Um, damn. When do you say it's not going to last long because you don't enjoy it? Like, do you see yourself leaving um in the nearby future? I speak to taxpayers and I got a call from someone calling about their Social Security settlement and I was like, hold up. Oh no. Damn. That sounds really complicated. You speak to taxpayers. That sounds really stressful. I'm sorry. I spent today at jury duty. Today was your jury duty day. Oh my God. But did not get selected, which is good because it was for a medical malpractice suit. Did not sound fun. But then I got woken up not too long ago by my IBS. Damn. Damn. Well, at least you didn't get to go to work today because I know you usually wake up at like the crack of dawn, right? So were you able to skip out on that by going to jury duty? Um, Glad you didn't get selected. Sounds like it would have been a difficult thing. Um, and I'm sorry about the IBS. That's lame as hell. Tell them, tell your IBS to chill out. This is normally when I would be going to work. Yes, and I took the night off. Okay, good. Thank God. This is when you would be going to work. That's crazy. I don't know what time it is for you, but that is insane. Um, LOL, everyone out here having grown up days, and I'm over here like I stared at a light bulb for an hour, played in dirt, and then gifted my chicken a plant. Wait, okay, it's the same for both of us. Wait a second, what? I'm confused. Oh, because you work nights. You work nights. I forgot. For some reason, I thought you worked like an early morning job. I forgot that because I was like, Yami's in the same time zone as me. Because as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, but aren't we in the same time zone? Um, hold on. Okay, I remember now. Um, I don't enjoy it because I'm having such a hard time with it. I just have a really hard time retaining information. I'm just having a hard time reading the systems needed to do our job. Initially, I was worried I was talking to angry taxpayers that was gonna break me, but that's not it. If anything breaks me, it's just not understanding how to do my job. But yeah, I'm a mostly lurk and try to get some more sleep. Okay, yeah. Good night. Hope you sleep like a babe. It must be weird, like trying to have a normal night of sleep when you're so used to not sleeping. That must be really strange. Um, yeah, I feel like, is it programs that you're having trouble understanding? Um, Regardless, if it's technology or program related, I feel you. My God, those things take me forever to understand. So don't feel bad. I'm sure probably a lot of people have a big learning curve at a job like that. Um, so yeah, um, that does sound really stressful. What have you been doing to like, or well, I guess I should ask, do you feel like you have a good like support system at work? Like if you ask questions, are they going to get answered? Um, anyway, no, wait, Alice, I'm sorry. What the hell do you do for work? You said, or well, maybe you don't actually, I just took that as a strange description of a job, but actually it seems like you stared at a light bulb for an hour, played in the dirt, and gifted my chicken a plant. I'm like, is this a video game or something? What am I not understanding? Whatever it is, that sounds like a perfect day to me. Playing in the dirt, giving plants to chickens. I mean, come on. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. I feel like you've mentioned the light therapy thing to me before. That's really crazy. I'm potting up plants and starting seeds. Got it. Okay, this is all starting to make more sense. Now you have to explain the chicken. Started the light therapy a few days ago and shifted my sleep almost 4 hours. That's awesome, right? That's a good thing, right? Chicken is your burb. Oh my gosh, you have a burb. That's so cool. Birds seem like really cool pets. Um, would never have one myself, but they seem really cool. I always think about Jaden Animations has Ari, and there's another one. But anyway, I think of Jaden Animations bird. I put a plant hanger on her cage. Whoa, cool. 36 years? The bird has been around for 36 years? What? Is that real? That's insane. That's longer than I've been alive. That's insane. That's so cool. You guys must really know each other. Oh, 41. Wow. That's insane. That's so cool. I really love that so much. You guys are like part of each other. So wait, you got the bird when you were 5? You don't know a birdless life, dude. So my core job is person calls me about their tax refund. They ask me where is it or something related to their refund. I go in the systems, try to find why they don't have their refund, when they'll get it, etc. The systems are full of codes and I need to interpret these codes and go in the internal manuals and figure out what to tell the taxpayer. Jesus Christ, Alan. Do they pay you $100 an hour minimum? Because that sounds like my personal version of hell. Um, that sounds awful. Yeah, I can understand those systems being complicated as fuck. Also, you have to like memorize and learn shit. That's crazy. Um, as far as work, I'm disabled, but I run a small business as a custom fragrance designer with an assortment of products. That's crazy. That's so cool. What's your favorite fragrance? That's so cool. I love that for you. Okay, I'm going to read this next paragraph. I have a feeling I'm not going to read as much as I thought I was going to read today, which is totally fine. But I'm going to read this next paragraph. I have written to Colonel Forrester to desire him to find out, if possible, from some of the young man's intimates in the regiment, whether Wickham has any relations or connections who would be likely to know in what part of the town he has now concealed himself. If there were anyone that one of us could apply to with a probability of gaining a clue as that, it might be of essential consequence. At present, we have nothing to guide us. Colonel Forrester will, I dare say, do everything in his power to satisfy us on this head. But on second thoughts, perhaps Lizzie could tell us what relations he has now living, better than any other person. Elizabeth was at no loss to understand from whence this defense of her authority proceeded, but it was not in her power to give any information or so satisfactory a nature as the compliment deserved. That's why the sleep change. All the craft markets start at like 9 to 10 a.m. and I wasn't able to get up before 11. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm really glad that you're being proactive and like trying to, work on your health in this way so that you can like get out there and do this really cool thing. Um, I love that for you. There is a small business in my hometown where this person like makes basically um like exact replicas of really famous and well-known fragrances and like bottles them and does them herself or something like that. And she's just saying like in her business that like if you have like expensive taste, you can still have the expensive smelling thing. You just don't need the fancy packaging, which is kind of interesting. Um, Sweet corn? Stop it. I didn't know sweet corn could be a fragrance. Over 300 individual flavors. That's interesting. Okay, I see there's an ad break starting soon. Um, this guy calling about his social security settlement. I'm not 100% well versed in government programs. Um, so I wasn't sure what to tell him. I was pretty sure I shouldn't handle this call. I put him on hold to find out that not only is it not my job to find out this guy's settlements, this guy is just flat out calling the wrong place. Ugh, Jesus, you probably have to deal with that shit all day long. And the thing is, they probably have no idea that they are like being like that. That's crazy. Um, wow. Well, kudos to you, man. Putting yourself out there, doing the job none of us want to do. Um, I hope they pay you well. I really do, because you deserve it. You probably have to deal with a lot of bullshit. Anyway, there is a ad break starting. I am going to read during that ad break. Yeah. All right. Um, she had never heard of his having had any relations except a father and a mother, both of whom had been dead many years. It was possible, however, that some of his companions in the Shire might be able to give more information, and though she was not very sanguine in expecting it, the application was something to look forward to. Every day at Longbourn was now a day of anxiety, but the most anxious part of each was that the post was expected. The arrival of letters was the first grand object of every morning's impatience. Through letters, whatever of good or bad was to be told would be communicated, and every succeeding day was expected to bring some news of importance. But before they heard again from Mr. Gardiner, a letter arrived for their father from a different quarter, from Mr. Collins, which, as Jane had received directions to open all that came for him in his absence, she accordingly read, and Elizabeth, who knew what curiosities his letters always were, looked over her and read it likewise. It was as follows. Okay, before I read this letter, I will read your letter, Alan. This was an older gentleman. I ask him his city. He tells me. I give him the number to his local SSA office, and he's like, "Hey, thanks for putting me on track. You're a pretty cool guy." And I'm like, "Hey, thanks." Aw, that's nice. Yeah, you definitely didn't have to do that. So that's nice of you that you went out of your way to help that guy. Um, and hey, at least he doesn't sound like a dick. At least he was like, you know, pretty cordial um about that. Like, I can call that a highlight. It may not have been my job to help him with his social security stuff, but I had the power to point him in the right direction. Then he was appreciative. Yeah, I can imagine. That makes sense. I would be appreciative of that too. um Here's the thing. Even if it's a, like, kind of, whatever job, if there's someone that I want to be doing that work, I believe it's someone like you, like someone that is patient and kind and is just gonna like sit and, help people, send them in the right direction. Those are the type of people that should be having those jobs, not like sad, short-tempered, like impatient people. Um, Maybe sad isn't the word I'm looking for, but impatient and short-tempered for sure. Um, okay, I'm gonna read this letter, but feel free to keep chatting or whatever. Um, my dear sir, I feel myself called upon by our relationship and my situation in life to condole with you on the grievous affliction you are now suffering under, of which we were yesterday informed by a letter from Hertfordshire. Be assured, my dear sir, that Mrs. Collins and myself sincerely sympathize with you, and all your respectable family in your present distress, which must be of bitterest kind, because proceeding from a cause which no time can remove. No argument shall be wanting on my part that all alleviates so severe a misfortune, or that may comfort you under a circumstance that must be of all others so afflicting to a parent's mind. The death of your daughter would have been a blessing in comparison to this. And it is more than to be lamented, because there is a reason to suppose, as my dear Charlotte informs me, that this licentiousness of behavior is in your daughter has proceeded from a faulty degree of indulgence, though at the same time, for the consolation of yourself and Mrs. Bennet, I am inclined to think of her own disposition must be naturally bad, or she could not be guilty of such an enormity at so at so early an age. Howsoever that may be, you are grievously to be pitied, in which opinion I am not only joined by Mrs. Collins, but likewise by Lady Catherine and her daughter, to whom I have related the affair. They agree with me in apprehending that this false step in one daughter will be injurious to the fortunes of all others, for who, as Lady Catherine herself condescendingly says, will connect themselves with such a family. And this consideration leaves me moreover to reflect with augmented satisfaction on the certain event of last November, for had it been otherwise, I must have been involved in all your sorrow and disgrace. Let me advise you then, my dear sir, to console yourself as much as possible, and to throw off your unworthy child from your affection forever, and leave her to reap the fruits of her own heinous offense. I am, dear sir, NC, NC. Okay, sorry, I wanted to get through that letter before I read chat things. Like he started off not rude but frustrated that he didn't know who to call. So he calls us because he doesn't know where to start. So I'm like, here's a better place to start. I certainly had a few rough calls, crying people, angry people, but I can only help them so much. Damn, the crying people must be like really upsetting because there probably is not much that you can do. Am I in a singing mood? Dude, I'm always in a singing mood. I will always sing for you. Although I feel like I haven't figured out what the best situation is for me to be singing on stream because when I sing, like if I have an instrument with me, because I can sing a cappella into this mic, but if I wanted to involve an instrument, I guess I would change to the mic that's connected to my camera, but even that I feel like you can't hear it very well. Um Song time, song time. Alan, what do you want to hear? Is there anything in particular that you want to hear? I don't know. I guess someone must have redeemed this at some point, but I don't know who. Um, enormity. I don't know why that word was giving me so much trouble. Comes running from my bowl of dirt to hear song time. All right, it's song time. But Alan, yet again, do you have anything that you want to hear, or should I come up with something? Let me grab my guitar. I doubt that you're gonna be able to hear the guitar very well, but I'm gonna try. So let me see if that works. Hold on, let me go grab her. Know any Kiss? I think I know literally one Kiss song, or maybe like two. And the one Kiss song I know is Christine 16, which I loved when I was a kid, and now I listen to that song and I'm like, I don't know about that. One of those or your choice. A Kiss song or my choice. Wow. Can you hear this? Like it's showing up just fine. It's pretty clear. Okay. And this is just with this mic. But if I do both at the same time, will it work? Wait. Ba-da-da, da-da-da, ba-da-da, 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 da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. Like when I sing and play it at the same time, can you hear it? I could also figure this out myself. And I could just listen to my damn stream. Hold on. Hold on. Let me situate myself for a second here. Um, okay, let's see. Um, let's see if there's any. I'm just grabbing my laptop to look up some tabbies so I can choose something. What? Hold on. I'm not gonna sing the whole song for you because I don't know it. But but haven't sorry, I have to bend over to see the chat now because I'm blocking it with my other hold on. Um a good kiss song with a nice acoustic guitar. See, I knew you wouldn't be able to hear it. Hold on. Let me try something else. Okay. I've switched over to the mic. Closing the door to my room. Okay. Um, all right. Wait, could you hear this? Rock and roll all night. Party every day. Rock and roll all night. Party every day. Rock and roll all night. Party every day. Okay, but that's the only kiss that you're gonna get because I really don't know any kiss songs. I'm sorry. Let me see. Wait a second. Maybe I could do Strutter? No, I can't. No, I absolutely cannot. Let me see. I can't do Christine 16 either. They're hard songs. I'm sorry, Alan. I'm sorry that I can't do what you want to hear, but I will play something else. What should I play? Hmm. Um, I've been working on, well, yes. Okay, I got it. Um, I'm gonna play, do you know, well, this isn't even on. Do you know Maggie Rogers? Because there's this Maggie Rogers song that I've been playing a lot and been having a lot of fun doing it. Um, Let me just zoom out if I can. I need a capo though. Hold on. Let me get a capo. Play a tryptophan. Hey, if you want tryptophan, I'll play you some tryptophan. Although I have to mention, I am not the guitarist for tryptophan. There's a reason why I don't play tryptophan. There's a reason I don't play guitar in tryptophan because I kind of just don't have the chops for it. But I can try. Let's see if I can remember. Yeah. Okay. This is what Larry taught me. I mean, I did write this melody, and I wrote this guitar part, actually. But then Larry just showed me a better way to play it. Alright, this is Slow Down by Tryptophan. Walking through the door, the house is greeted by someone it's never seen before. And as she trips, distracted by the stars around her hair, in over her head again, over there. Slow down. Wait, I have to remember. Yeah, okay. Slow down. Somebody tell her to slow down. Somebody tell her to slow down. Slow down. Happened in a flash. It was just a night, he said, but it has to last. When she told me for the third time that I'm walking too fast, she puts her arm in mine and she asks, slow down, because I need you to slow down, because I need you to slow down, slow down. Wait, sorry, I had to remember. Laugh, laugh because it happened. Laugh because it happened. Laugh because it happened. Laugh because it happened. a flash. Don't cry because it's over. Laugh because it happened. Slow down. Somebody tell her to slow down. Because I need you to slow down. Slow down. Don't cry because it's over. Laugh because it happened. Don't Jesus. Don't cry because it's over. Laugh because it happened. That was Slow Down by Tryptophan. My band. Um, I'm so sorry about however the audio quality was. I have no idea. Um, yo, what's up? With the bits? What the heck did I just do? I moved the chat. How the hell did I just do that? Anyway, I'm crying because the song is over. Oh, was it cutting in and out the whole time? What happened to my chat? My beautiful chat, come back. Can I undo what I just did? Undo. There we go. Okay, thank God. Um, a little, but it wasn't too bad. A little cutting in and out, but I got the rhythm. Damn. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out. Thanks for the Danny DeVito. Is that a Danny DeVito? It's a Danny DeVito. Shut the fuck up. What the? Oh my God. I'm gonna have to figure out something to do about when people request songs, how to get better audio going on, because I don't know, it's a redeemable thing, and like I don't have a good setup for when that happens. But damn, Alice, thanks for the bits, girl. Um, yeah. Aim the sound hole away from, but I'm not even using this mic right now. Oh wait, am I? Yeah, I switched over to this. So I know that can't be the problem. But I think it's because this mic is so directional that it doesn't really work for it. Hello. Now I'm back to this mic. Does the quality of my voice sound better all of a sudden? I hope so. Um, but yeah, I don't know, man. I've got no idea. But yeah, that was Slow Down by Tryptophan. Amazon delivered your coffee. You better go get it. Um, I'm pretty sure that's the only Tryptophan song that I can play also. So, yeah. Um, okay. Shall we like continue? I mean, at this point, should I even continue reading? Like, um, because it's almost 9. Alan will now stream. Alan, have a wonderful stream. Are you reading on stream? I hope you have a fun time reading whatever you are going to read while I debate whether I go back to reading or just end the stream. I think I'll keep reading. Um, he is reading Did you finish that crazy book with like all the sex? Nah, sex books was 2 books ago. Toxic and dumb as fuck. Did you finish it? Did you decide not to finish it? Was it DNF? Anyway, I don't want to distract you. You can go ahead and stream. Thank you for being here, Alan. And I will definitely raid your channel if you are streaming while I'm streaming. But also, I don't know if there will be many people, but um okay. I'm going to continue. Mr. Gardner did not write again till he had received an answer from Colonel Forrester, and then he had nothing of a pleasant nature to send. It was not known that Wickham had a single relation with whom he kept up any connection, but it was certain that he had no near one living. His former acquaintance, you finished it, then read a short, gratuitous horror book. Now I'm reading a more traditional thriller mystery. Jesus, you are reading so much. That's amazing, Alan. And you used to not read at all. That's so crazy. Um, well, I hope you have fun streaming. Thanks for being here. Mr. Gardner did not write again till he had received an answer from Colonel Forrester, and then he had nothing of a pleasant nature to send. It was not known that Mr. Wickham had a single relation with whom he kept up any connection, and it was certain that he had no one near living. His former acquaintance had been numerous, but since he had been in the militia, it did not appear that he was on terms of particular friendship with any of them. There was no one, therefore, who could be pointed out as likely to give any news of him. And in the wretched state of his own finances, there was a very powerful motive for secrecy, in addition to his fear of discovery by Lydia's relations, for it had just transpired that he had left gaming debts behind him to a very considerable amount. Colonel Forrester believed that more than £1,000 could be necessary to clear his expenses at Brighton. He owed a good deal to the town, but his debts of honor were still more formidable. Mr. Gardner did not attempt to conceal these particulars from the Longbourn family. Jane heard them with horror. "A gamester!" she replied. She cried, "This is wholly unexpected. I had not an idea of it." Mr. Gardner added in his letter that they might expect to see their father at home on the following day, which was Saturday. Rendered spiritless by the ill success of their endeavors, he had yielded to his brother-in-law's entreaty that he would return to his family, and leave it to him to do whatever occasion might suggest to be advisable for continuing their pursuit. When Mrs. Bennet was told of this, she did not express so much satisfaction as her children expected, considering what her anxiety for his life had been before. There was a mute character in the last couple chapters. He finally speaks, and I gave him a loud Gilbury Gottfried voice. I don't know who you're talking about, but I already love it. That's amazing. You might as well have some fun with it, right? Wow. What, is he coming home? And without poor Lydia? She cried. Sure, it will not leave London before he has found them. Who is to fight Wickham and make him marry her if he comes away? As Mrs. Gardiner began to wish to be at home, it was settled that she and her children should go to London, at the same time that Mr. Bennet came from it. The coach therefore took them the first stage of their journey and brought its master back to Longbourn. Mrs. Gardiner went away in all perplexity about Elizabeth and her Derbyshire friend, that had attended her from that part of the world. His name had never been voluntarily mentioned before them by her niece, and the kind of half expectation that Mrs. Gardiner had formed of their being followed by a letter from him had ended in nothing. Elizabeth had received none since her return that could come from Pemberley. The present unhappy state of their family rendered any other excuse for the lowness of her spirits unnecessary. Nothing, therefore, could be fairly conjectured from that, though Elizabeth, who was by this time tolerably well acquainted with her own feelings, was perfectly aware that, had she known nothing of Darcy, she could have borne the dread of Lydia's infamy somewhat better. It would have spared her, she thought, one sleepless night out of two. When Mr. Bennet arrived, he had all the appearance of his usual philosophic composure. He said as little as he had ever been in the habit of saying, made no mentions of the business that had taken him away, and it was some time before his daughters had courage to speak of it. It was not till the afternoon, when he joined them at tea, that Elizabeth ventured to introduce the subject. And then, on her briefly expressing her sorrow for what he must have endured, he replied, Say nothing of it. Who should suffer but myself? It has been my own doing, and I ought to feel it. You must not be too severe upon yourself, replied Elizabeth. You may well warn me against such an evil. Human nature is so prone to fall into it. No, Lizzie, let me once in my life feel how much I have been to blame. I am not afraid of being overpowered by the impression. It will pass away soon enough. Do you suppose them to be in London? Yes. Where else can they be so well concealed? And Lydia used to want to go to London, added Kitty. She is happy then, said her father, dryly, and her residence there will probably be of some duration. Then, after a short silence, he continued, Lizzie, I bear you no ill will for being unjustified in your advice to me last May, which, considered the event, shows some greatness of mind. They were interrupted by Mrs. Bennet, who came to fetch her mother's tea. This is a parade, cried he, which does one good. It gives such an elegance to misfortune. Another day I will do the same. I will sit in my library, in my nightcap and powdering gown, and give as much trouble as I can, or perhaps I may defer it till Kitty runs away. I am not going to run away, papa, said Kitty, fretfully. If I should ever go to Brighton, I would behave better than Lydia. You go to Brighton? I would not trust you so near it as Eastbourne for £50. No, Kitty, I have at last learnt to be cautious, and you will feel the effects of it. No officer is ever to enter my house again, nor even to pass through the village. Balls will be absolutely prohibited unless you stand up with one of your sisters. And you are never to stir out of doors till you can prove that you can have spent 10 minutes of every day in a rational manner. Kitty, who took all these threats in a serious light, began to cry. Well, well, he said, do not make yourself unhappy. If you are a good girl for the next 10 years, I will take you to a review at the end of them. What a dynamic. What a family dynamic. Okay, that was chapter 6. 2, 3, 4. The next chapter is another 4 pages. I'm definitely going to read less than I thought tonight because I've done a lot of time yapping. Um, but I can definitely get through another chapter. So, without further ado, let us, all right, and the ad break is over too. Let us jump into chapter 7. 2 days after Mr. Bennet's return, as Jane and Elizabeth were walking together in the shrubbery behind the house, they saw the housekeeper coming towards them, and, concluding that she came to call them to their mother, went forward to meet her. But instead of an expected summons, when they approached her, she said to Miss Bennet, "I beg your pardon, madam, for interrupting you, but I was in hopes that you might have gotten some good news from town, so I took the liberty of coming to ask." "What do you mean, Hill? We have heard nothing from town." "Dear madam," cried Mrs. Hill, in great astonishment, "don't you know there is a master? There is an express come from Master and Mr. Gardner? He has been there for this half hour. Your master has had a letter." Away ran the girls, too eager to get in and have time for speech. They ran through the vestibule into the breakfast room, from thence to the library. Their father was in neither, and they were on the point of seeking him upstairs when their mother, when they met by, with their mother, when they were met by the butler, who said, "If you are looking for my master, ma'am, he is walking toward the little copse." Upon his information, they instantly passed through the hall once more, and ran across the lawn after their father, who was deliberately pursuing his way toward a small wood on the one side of the paddock. Jane, who was not so light, nor so much in the habit of running as Elizabeth, soon lagged behind, while her sister, panting for breath, came up with him and eagerly cried out, "Oh, papa, what's news? What's news? Have you heard from my uncle?" "Yes, I have a letter from him by express." "Well, and what news does it bring, good or bad?" "What is there of good to be expected?" said he, taking the letter from his pocket. "But perhaps you would like to read it." Elizabeth impatiently caught it from his hand. Jane now came up. "Read it aloud," said their father, "for I hardly know myself what it is about." Gracechurch Street, Monday, August 2nd. "My dear brother, at last I am able to send you some tidings of my niece, and such as, upon the whole, I hope it will give you satisfaction. Soon after you left me on Saturday, I was fortunate enough to find out what part of London they were. The particulars I reserve till we meet. It is enough to know they are discovered. I have seen them both." "Then it is, as I always hope," cried Jane. "They are married." Elizabeth read on. "I've seen them both. They are not married. Nor can I find there any intentions of being so. But if you are willing to perform the engagements which I have ventured to make on your side, I hope it will not be long before they are. All that is required of you is to assume that your daughter, by settlement, her equal share of the £5,000, secured among your children after the decease of yourself and my sister, and moreover to enter into an engagement of allowing her, during your life, £100 per annum. These are conditions which, considering everything, I have no hesitation in complying with, as far as I thought myself privileged for you. I shall send this by express, that no time may be lost in bringing me your answer. You will easily comprehend from these particulars that Mr. Wickham's circumstances are not so hopeless as they are generally believed to be. The world has been deceived in that respect, and I am happy to say there will be some little money, even when all his debts are discharged, to settle on my niece, in addition to her own fortune. If, as I conclude will be the case, you send me the full powers to act in your name throughout the whole business, I will immediately give directions to Haggerson to prepare the proper settlement. There will be the smallest occasion for your coming to town again. Therefore, stay quietly in Longbourn, and depend upon my diligence and care. Send back your answer as soon as you can, and be careful to write explicitly. We have judged it best that my niece should be married from this house, of which I hope you will approve. She comes to us today. I shall write again as soon as anything more is determined upon. Yours and C. Edward Gardiner. It is possible, cried Elizabeth when she finished. Can it be possible that he will marry her? Wickham is not so undeserving, then, as we have thought him, said her sister. My dear father, I congratulate you. And have you answered the letter? Said Elizabeth. No, but it must be done soon. Most earnestly did she entreat him to lose no more time before he wrote. Oh, my dear father, she cried, come back and write immediately. Consider how important every moment is in such a case. Let me write for you, said Jane, if you dislike the trouble yourself. I dislike it very much, he replied, but it must be done. And so saying, he turned back with them and walked toward the house. And may I ask, said Elizabeth, but the terms, I suppose, must be compiled with. Compiled with? I am only ashamed of his asking so little. And they must marry. He is such a man. Yes, they must marry. There is nothing else to be done. But there are two things that I want very much to know. One is how much money your uncle has laid down to bring it about, and the other, how I am ever to pay him. Money? My uncle? Cried Jane. What do you mean, sir? I mean that no man in his senses would marry Lydia on so slight a temptation as 100 a year during my life, 50 after I am gone. That is very true, said Elizabeth, though it had not occurred to me before. His debts to be discharged, and something still to remain. Oh, it must be my uncle's doings. Generous, good man, I am afraid he has distressed himself. A small sum could not do all this. No, said her father. Wickham's a fool if he takes her with a farthing less than 10,000 pounds. I should be sorry to think so ill of him. It is the very beginning of our relationship. 10,000 pounds? Heaven forbid! How is half such a sum to be repaid? Mr. Bennet made no answer. And each of them, deep in thought, continued silent till they reached the house. Their father then went to the library to write, and the girls walked into the breakfast room. And they are really to be married, cried Elizabeth, as soon as they were themselves. How strange it is! For this we are to be thankful, that they should marry. Small is their chance of happiness, and wretched as in his character, we are forced to rejoice. Oh, Lydia! I comfort myself with thinking, replied Jane, that he certainly would not marry Lydia if he had not a real regard for her. Though our kind uncle has done something towards clearing him, I cannot believe that 10,000 pounds or anything like that has been advanced. He has children of his own, and may have more. How could he spare half 10,000 pounds? If we are ever able to learn what Wickham's debts have been, said Elizabeth, and how much is settled on his side of our sister, we shall exactly know what Mr. Gardiner has done for them, because Wickham has not sixpence of his own. The kindness of my uncle and aunt can never be requited. Their taking her home and affording her their personal protection and countenance is such a sacrifice to her advantage as years of gratitude cannot enough acknowledge. By this time she is actually with them. If such goodness does not make her miserable now, she will never deserve to be happy. What a meeting for her when she first sees my aunt. We must endeavor to forget all that has passed on either side, said Jane. I hope and trust they will yet be happy. His consenting to marry her is a proof, I will believe, that he is come to the right way of thinking. Their mutual affection will steady them, and I flatter myself they will settle so quietly, and live in so rational a manner, as may in time make their past imprudence forgotten. Their conduct has been such, replied Elizabeth, as neither you nor I nor anybody can ever forget. It is useless to talk of it. It now occurred to the girls that their mother was in all likelihood perfectly ignorant of what had happened. They went to the library, therefore, and asked their father whether he would not wish them to make it known to her. He was writing, and, without raising his head, coolly replied, "Just as you please. May we take my uncle's letter to read to her? Take whatever you like and get away." Elizabeth took the letter from his writing table, and they went upstairs together. Mary and Kitty were both with Mrs. Bennet. One communication would, therefore, do for all. After a slight preparation for good news, the letter was read aloud. Mrs. Bennet could hardly contain herself. As soon as Jane had read Mr. Gardiner's hope of Lydia's being soon married, her joy burst forth, and every following sentence added to its exuberance. She was now in an irritation as violent from delight as she had ever been fidgety from alarm and vexation. To know that her daughter would be married was enough. She was disturbed by no fear for her felicity, nor humbled by any remembrance of her misconduct. "My dear, dear Lydia," she cried, "this is delightful indeed. She will be married. I shall see her again. She will be married at 16. My God. My good, kind brother, I knew how it would be. I knew he would manage everything. How I long to see her, to see dear Wickham too. But the clothes, the wedding clothes. I will write my sister Gardiner about them directly. Lizzie, my dear, run down to your father and ask him how much he will give her. Stay, I will go myself. Ring the bell, Kitty, for Hill. I will put on my things in a moment. My dear, dear Lydia, how merry we shall be together when we meet." Her eldest daughter endeavored to give some relief to the violence of these transports by leading her thoughts to the obligations which Mr. Gardiner's behavior laid them all under. "For we must attribute this happy conclusion," she added, "in a great measure to his kindness. We are persuaded that he has pledged himself to assist Mr. Wickham with money." "Well," cried her mother, "it is all very right. Who should do it but her own uncle? If he had not had a family of his own, and I, my children, must have had all his money, you know, and it is the first time we have ever had anything from him, except a few presents. Well, I am so happy. In a short time I shall have a daughter married. Mrs. Wickham, how well it sounds, and she was only 16 last June. My dear Jane, I am in such a flutter that I am sure I can't write, so I will dictate, and you write for me. We will settle with your father about the money afterwards, but the things should be ordered immediately." She was then proceeding to all the particulars of calico, muslin, and cambric, and would shortly have dictated some very plentiful orders, had not Jane, though with some difficulty, persuaded her to wait till her father was at leisure to be consulted. One day's delay, she observed, would be of small importance, and her mother was too happy to be quite so obstinate as usual. Other schemes, too, came into her head. "I will go to Meryton," said she, "as soon as I am dressed, and tell the good news to my sister Phillips. As I come back, I can call on Lady Lucas and Mr. Long. Kitty, run down and order the carriage. An airing would do me a great deal of good, I am sure. Girls, can I do anything for you in Meryton? Oh, here comes Hill. My dear Hill, have you heard the good news? Miss Lydia is going to be married, and you shall have a bowl of punch to make merry at her wedding." Mrs. Hill began instantly to express her joy. Elizabeth received her congratulations amongst the rest, and then, sick of this folly, took refuge in her own room, that she might think with freedom. Poor Lydia's situation must, at best, be bad enough, but that was no worse. She had need to be thankful. She felt so, and though in looking forward, neither rational happiness nor worldly prosperity could be justly expected for her sister, in looking back to what they had feared only 2 hours ago, she felt all the advantages of what they had gained. All right. Debating whether I read one more chapter. Yeah, I think I'll read one more. But before I read this final chapter of the day, I am going to take a very quick vocal break. So I will be back in like 5-ish minutes. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you.
Hello. Okay, it's time for our last chapter of the night, volume 3, chapter 8. Um, so yeah, let's just jump right into it. This is about again, like about 4 pages. So, all right. Mr. Bennet had often wished, before this period of his life, that instead of spending his whole income, he had laid by an annual sum for the better provision of his children and of his wife if she survived him. He now wished it more than ever. Had he done his duty in that respect, Lydia need not have been indebted to her uncle, for whatever of honor or credit could now be purchased for her. The satisfaction of prevailing on one of the most worthless young men in Great Britain to be her husband might have rested in its proper place. He was seriously concerned that a cause of so little advantage to anyone should be forwarded at the sole expense of his brother-in-law, and he was determined, if possible, to find out the extent of his assistance and to discharge the obligation as soon as he could. When first Mr. Bennet had married, economy was held to be perfectly useless, for, of course, they were to have a son. This son was to join in cutting off the entail as soon as he should be of age, and the widow and younger children would by that means be provided for. 5 daughters successively entered the world, but yet the son was to come, and Mrs. Bennet, for many years after Lydia's birth, had been certain he would. This event had at last been despaired of, but it was then too late to be saving. Mrs. Bennet had no turn for economy, but her husband's love of independence had alone prevented their exceeding their income. £5,000 was settled by marriage articles on Mrs. Bennet and the children. But in what proportions it should be divided amongst the latter depended on the will of the parents. This was one point, with regard to Lydia at least, which was now to be settled, and Mr. Bennet could have no hesitation in acceding to the proposal before him. In terms of grateful acknowledgment for the kindness of his brother, though expressed more concisely, he was delivered on paper his perfect approbation for all that was done and his willingness to fulfill the engagements that had been made for him. He had never before supposed that, could Wickham be prevailed on to marry his daughter, it would be done with so little inconvenience to himself. But as the present arrangement, he would scarcely be £10 a year the loser, by the 100 that he would be paid for them, for, what with the broad and pocket allowance, that the continual presents in money, which passed to her, through her mother's hands, Lydia's expenses had been very little within that sum. That it would be done with such trifling exertion on his side, too, was another very welcome surprise, for his chief wish at present was to have as little trouble in the business as possible. When the first transports of rage had been produced, his activity in seeking her were over. He naturally returned to his former indolence. His letter was soon dispatched, for, though dilatory in undertaking business, he was quick in his execution. He begged to know farther particulars of what he was indebted to his brother, but was too angry with Lydia to send any message to her. The good news quickly spread through the house, and with the proportionate speed through the neighborhood. It was borne in the latter with decent philosophy. To be sure, it would have been more of an advantage of conversation had Miss Lydia Bennet come upon the town, or, as the happiest alternative, been secluded from the world in some distant farmhouse. And then was much to be talked of in marrying her, and the good-natured wishes of her well-doing, which had proceeded before from all the spiteful old ladies in Meryton, lost but little of their spirit in this change of circumstances, because with such a husband her misery was considered certain. It was fortnight since Mrs. Bennet had been downstairs, but on this happy day she again took her seat at the head of the table, and in spirits oppressively high. No sentiment of shame gave a damp on her triumph. The marriage of a daughter, which had been the first object of her wishes since Jane was 16, was now on the point of accomplishment, and her thoughts and her words ran wholly on those attendants of elegant nuptials, fine muslins, new carriages, and servants. She was busily searching through the neighborhood for a proper situation for her daughter, and, without knowing or considering what their intention might be, rejected many as deficient in size and importance. Hay Park might do, she said, if the Goldings would quit it, or the great house at Stoke, if the drawing-room were larger. But Ashworth is too far off. I could not bear it to have her 10 miles from me. As for the Purist Lodge, the attics are dreadful. Her husband allowed her to talk on without interruption, while the servants remained. But when they had withdrawn, he said to her, Mrs. Bennet, before you take any or all of these houses for your son and daughter, let us come to a right understanding. Into one house in this neighborhood they shall never have admittance. I will not encourage the impudence of either by receiving them at Longbourn. A long dispute followed this declaration, but Mr. Bennet was firm. It soon led to another, and Mrs. Bennet found, with amazement and horror, that her husband would not advance a guinea to buy clothes for his daughter. He protested that she should receive from him no mark of affection whatever on the occasion. Mrs. Bennet could hardly comprehend it. That his anger could be carried to such a point of inconceivable resentment, and to refuse his daughter a privilege without which her marriage could scarcely seem valid, exceeded all that she could believe possible. She was more alive to the disgrace which the want of new clothes must reflect on her daughter's nuptials than to any sense of shame at her eloping and living with Wickham a fortnight before they took place. Elizabeth was now most heartily sorry that she had, from the distress of the moment, been led to make Mr. Darcy acquainted with their fears for her sister, for since her marriage would be so shortly give the proper termination of the elopement, they might hope to conceal its unfavorable beginning from all of those who were not immediately on the spot. She had no fear in its spreading further through his means. There were few people on whose secrecy she would have been more confidently depended, but at the same time there was no one whose knowledge of a sister's frailty would have mortified her so much. Not, however, from any fear of disadvantage from it individually to herself, for at any rate, however, from the fear of at any rate, there seemed a gulf impassable between them. Had Lydia's marriage been concluded on the most honorable terms, it was not to be supposed that Mr. Darcy would connect himself with a family, where to every other objection would now be added an alliance and relationship of the nearest kind with a man whom he so justly scorned. From such a connection, she could not wonder what he should shrink. The wish of procuring her regard, which she had assured herself of his feeling in Derbyshire, could not in rational expectation survive such a blow as this. She was humbled, she was grieved, she repented, though she hardly knew of what. She became jealous of his esteem when she could no longer hope to be benefited by it. She wanted to hear of him when there seemed to be the least chance of gaining intelligence. She was convinced that she could have been happy with him, but it was no longer likely that they should meet. What a triumph for him, as she often thought. Could he know that the proposals which she had proudly spurned only 4 months ago would now have been gladly and gratefully received? He was as generous, she doubted not, as the most generous of his sex. But while he was mortal, there must be a triumph. She began now to comprehend that he was exactly the man who, in disposition and talents, would most suit her. His understanding and temper, though unlike her own, would have answered all her wishes. It was a union that must have been the advantage of both. By her ease and liveliness, his mind might have been softened, his manners improved, and from his judgment, information, and knowledge of the world, she must have received benefit of greater importance. But no such happy marriage could now teach the admiring multitude what connubial felicity really was. An union of a different tendency and precluding the possibility of the other was soon to be formed in their family. How Wickham and Lydia were to be supported in tolerable independence, she could not imagine. But how little of permanent happiness could belong to a couple who were only brought together because their passions were stronger than their virtue, who could easily conjecture. Mr. Gardiner soon wrote again to his brother. To Bennet's acknowledgments he briefly replied, with assurances of his eagerness to promote the welfare of any of his family, and concluded with entreaties that the subject might never be mentioned to him again. The principal purport of his letters was to inform them that Mr. Wickham had resolved on quitting the militia. It was greatly my wish that he should do so, he added, as soon as his marriage was fixed on. And I think you will agree with me in considering a removal from the corps as likely advisable both on his account and my niece's. It is Mr. Wickham's intention to go into the regulars, and among his former friends, there are still some who are able and willing to assist him in the army. He has the promise of an insigniacy in general regiment, now quartered in the north. It is an advantage to have it so far from the part of the kingdom. He promises fairly, and I hope among different people, where they may each have a character to preserve, they will both be more prudent. I've written to Colonel Forrester to inform him of our present arrangements, and to request that he will satisfy the various creditors of Mr. Wickham in and near Brighton with assurances of speedy payment, for which I have pledged myself. And you will give yourself the trouble of carrying similar assurances to his creditors in Meryton, of whom I shall subjoin a list, according to his information. He has given in all his debts. I hope at least he has not deceived us. Haggerston has our directions, and all will be completed in a week. They will then join his regiment, unless they are first invited to Longbourn, and I understand from Mr. Gardiner that my niece is very desirous of seeing you all before she leaves the South. She is well, and begs to be dutifully remembered to you and her mother. Yours and C. E. Gardiner. Alan, what? You're done your stream? Yo, what is up? I love a party of one. So fun. Hi, Alan. What is up? Thanks for being here. Thanks for the raid. Shout out to Alan. How was the book? How was reading? Mr. Bennet and his daughters saw all the advantages of Wickham's removal from the Shire. Only had a chapter in me. Okay, gotcha. Totally fair. Hey, at least you read it all. That's cool. It's crazy that you only read on stream. Is that still true? Or have you started reading on your own? Um, only stream. Wow. The dedication to the craft, man. Was it a good chapter at least? Mr. Bennet and his daughters saw all the advantages of Wickham's removal from the Shire, as clearly as Mr. Gardiner could do. But Mrs. Bennet was not so well pleased with it. Lydia's being settled in the north just when she had expected most pleasure and pride with her company, for she had no means given up her plan of their residing in Hertfordshire, was a severe disappointment. And besides, it was such a pity that Lydia should be taken from a regiment where she was acquainted with everybody and had so many favorites. She is fond of Mr. Forester, said she. It will be quite shocking to send her away. And there are several of the young men, too, that she likes very much. The officers must not be so pleasant in General's regiment. Her daughter's request, for such to be considered, of being admitted into her family again before she set off to the north, received at first an absolute negative. But Jane and Elizabeth, who agreed in wishing, for the sake of their sister's feelings and consequence, that she should be noticed by her marriage by her parents, urged him so earnestly, yet so rationally and so mildly, to receive her and her husband at Longbourn, as soon as they were married, that he was prevailed on to think as they thought, to act as they wished. And their mother had the satisfaction of knowing that she should be able to show her married daughter in the neighborhood before she was banished to the north. When Mr. Bennet wrote again to his brother, therefore, he sent his permission for them to come, and it was settled that as soon as the ceremony was over, they would proceed to Longbourn. Elizabeth was surprised, however, that Wickham should only consent to such a scheme, and had she consulted only her inclination, any meeting with him would have been the last object of her wishes. We hate Wickham. We hate Wickham. Anyway, all right, that was chapter 8 of volume 3 of Pride and Prejudice. And with that, I am done streaming and reading for tonight. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chatting. It was a very chatty stream today, and I appreciate that. And I will be back, but not until next week to stream again. So I will see you for some writing streams, and then for another Pride and Prejudice stream later in the week. Alan, I appreciate you. Everyone watching, I appreciate you. And I will see you real soon. All right. Oh, we have a chat. Hold on. I'll read your chat. Okay. It was, book so far is about 3 point of view characters who all have connections to a case of a person missing for 17 years. I love a missing person book. There are so many, but they're always so tasty. Now 17 Laters to the Day, 2 of the point of view characters, a detective and a woman who let her old stripper life met in secret for some revelations about 17 years ago. And another person is missing under the same circumstances 17 years later to see if the two people are connected. That sounds really interesting. Before I end the stream, can you tell me what the name of the... Well, actually, I can just check out your channel. You don't have to tell me the name of the book. Anyway, okay. Well, that sounds really interesting and cool. I hope you're enjoying it. And I will see you. There's also a show based on it. I mean, that seems like show material, honestly. There's a lot to work with there. Stay Close by Harlan Coben. Okay, sick. I love that. Um, but okay, I'm gonna leave for real now. I will see you next week. Have a lovely weekend. I hope you rest. And yeah. All right. Bye.